I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 to the 21, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest, fine rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around me, throw that to the side,
Yes, get in, get in. And I knew you'd sneak in, Chris. I knew you'd sneak in right at the intro. Love it, love it, love it. We are back. We're back, and we're back with the win. The gamble paid off, lads. This could have gone badly for us, but yes, we're back, and we're back with the win. For that, Brandy, how is everyone? Pete, how are you?
Oh, I'm very, very happy tonight. Very happy. Yeah, wasn't pretty. Yes, we know all this. 3 points in the bag. That's all that matters. We want a reaction. We got a reaction. We got 3 points at St. James's Park. Get in there. Yes. Love it.
And Chris, we know you always wait till the intro starts before you start making it. Lisa, I might have to do a show with the lads. Walk upstairs. Yeah. Bang. Right on in time. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good. Feeling much better after that win. As Pete rightly said, it wasn't very pretty at times. But you know, we got it over the line, to use a phrase we've used a while back. But yeah, massive 3 points. And for me now, season starts now.
The season starts now. It sure does. And you don't have to wait long for the next game either. We'll talk a bit about that in a while. Let's get into it. Let's get into analysing the game. If you're new to the channel, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. So hitting the subscribe button will enable chat, so you'll be able to chat to us. And there it is. There's Chris's favorite little GIF. And yeah, also hit that like button as well. If you like the win today, hit that like button. Get ready for Milan on Tuesday. All right, so this is the team for Newcastle. Lots of changes. 5 changes for Eddie. Botman back. Longstaff started. Anderson started. Barnes started. Wilson started. The bench as well. Nice, strong, healthy-looking bench there as well. Not so healthy, J7, who did his knee in the second Brazil match, according to Eddie Howe. So it looks like he'll be out for a few weeks. But what is your thoughts on the team, lads? And I guess what Eddie said at the end of the game, he concentrated really on those that didn't go away on international duty, that were there training. So he went with that. I know he'll mix it up again for Milan. But Pete, we'll go to you first. Thoughts on the team?
Yeah, happy. Some of the changes we talked about on the masterclass show, the likes of Barnes, Gordon, Wilson, you know, bringing Longstaff back in, all part of the conversation that we had. I think the only surprise was it was Anderson, but it's clear that Joelinton is sort of re-injured his knee. So yeah, I mean, saying that, I would have liked Lewis Hall to start. I would have liked him to be in the team. I think we would have been better with him in the team today, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, no issues whatsoever. It was actually quite a pleasing sight to see so many changes.
Yeah, it was. Chris, your thoughts on the team?
Yeah, similar to Pete. I mean, obviously, when we spoke about it in away days through the week, we said that would be our preferred front three, with Barnes on the left, Gordon on the right, and Wilson through the middle. So, we hit the nail on the head with that one. I think, the Elliot Anderson one was a bit of a surprise, although not that much because obviously we heard about what happened with Joe Linton. But yeah, and again to echo exactly what Pete said, I would have liked to have seen Lewis Hall get his first start, but we can wait. We can wait patiently for that. And the more I'm thinking about it, and I was giving myself a little pep talk today in the house, before the lineups come out, and I was thinking to myself, if Eddie Howe and the coaching team can get Livramento and Hall, in our way of thinking, up to Eddie Howe fitness, they're gonna burst on the scene, aren't they? So the longer that they're out, it's just more and more time with Eddie and his coaching staff, and I trust their decision making. So yeah, I was reasonably happy with the team, and I thought he made the right call putting Wilson up front as well.
Cool. Something I'm going to talk about later, and I'll just say it now because I'll forget, so remind me, is that the number 6, we identified the number 6 position as a potential weak link for us in the previous matches, but they cope with it better today with Longstaff, Anderson, and Bruno. They seem to kind of alternate it. They cover for each other. It just seemed to work better today in that cover. I know Bruno did get forward quite a bit, but we'll maybe come back to that later on. All right, let's run you through the first half. There's not much to say about that first half. Brentford targeting our left-hand side in the early stages. That's what they're bombing down. Our left, their right. 25 minutes, Brentford definitely on top. Newcastle lacking confidence. But the turning point, and I always put this in the chat in our load, is when Shar goes down. There's always something that sparks then. Shar went down, then suddenly Newcastle slipped into a bit of gear. Not great yet, but they were picking up momentum. So 28 minutes, then a save from the header from Bruno. So ball came in. I think it was Byrne that knocked it back, and Bruno, he did the right thing. He headed it down, but the keeper made a good save, a lucky save maybe with his feet. But Newcastle then were starting to get into it. But that's really it for that first half of highlights. We weren't playing great in that first half. Were you nervous, lads? And what was your thoughts on the first half? Chris, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, the first half was better forgotten, really. It was a frustrating half. I thought Brentford started really, really well. We were on the back foot, and I just kept saying to the TV, just ease into it, just take your time, don't make any rash decisions. Soon we'll start progressing, and we'll start coming into the game a lot more. Bruno gave me a heart attack about 4 or 5 times because there was times when the ball was further up the pitch in the Brentford's box, and like Bruno was just like all around the 18-yard box, and I'm thinking, where's our number 6? Who's back? And then whenever the camera like pans backwards, there was always someone kind of there waiting, and obviously the defenders pushed up as well. So that made me feel a touch better. I think we were fortunate as well. Tell me if I'm wrong, Daz. There was a moment, wasn't there, when Visser had the ball and Mbeumo was on the last man, and I think he was running back with Botman, and Botman, you could see that Mbeumo was going to get past Botman because it was just a one-on-one race. And I was praying for the halfway line, thinking, please, because then you're offside. As soon as he goes past that halfway line, he's going to be offside. And Visser had a split-second moment to either dink it over the top or play it through the middle, and he didn't do that. And I thought we got away with that, because if he'd have done that, I think Mbeumo would have been onto it. So that was nervy. And I think that, as I say, there wasn't really that many highlights in the first half. You're absolutely right what you said, by the way, about Daz, about Bruno. He did everything right. Because some people will say, oh, he should have scored. But he directed the header where he should have. So the ball went to the ground. And to be fair, when I watched it back, I thought the keeper did really, really well with it. The keeper, deserves the plaudits there, because it was a good save. But yeah, that was my assessment of the first half, and I kind of knew that when we were going to go in at half time, Eddie would put a rocket up a few people's backsides, and that we'd come out stronger, and we did. Harvey Barnes, I thought, was really ineffective in the first half, but he came out in the second half and really, really turned it on. Really, the bright sparks for me in the first half were probably Gordon and Wilson. They were the only ones who kind of looked like the threat for me. Although I do think Bruno had a really good game as well, both first and second half. But yeah, there wasn't many highlights from the first half, but I still felt confident going into that second half.
Cool. Yeah, and we had, I know it was Steph and you for a while in the chat, Chris, and we had a plan for halftime. We didn't need to execute it, but yeah, it did involve Barnes coming off, but no, Eddie stuck with them, and he made the right call by not changing. Pete, your thoughts on the first half?
We were nervous. We were nervous. The fans were nervous. I was surprised with how quiet the atmosphere was in the stadium. I think that trickled down to the players, but I kind of expected it because, off the back of 3 defeats, some people say, "Oh yeah, the fans need to get behind the players," but equally, the fans need something to get behind in terms of a performance. So for me, yeah, I thought it was a very nervous start. A lot of passes were played for safety and not to try and penetrate the opposition. That's what I wanted to see. But they grew into the game. I thought, ultimately, everything was played down our left-hand side, whether it was Brentford attacking or us attacking. And I think that kind of hampered us a little bit because whenever we got a little bit of joy, it was from the right-hand side. And I just think that we didn't play enough down our right-hand side in the first half to really cause problems. I think Gordon coming in onto his left, he's got the ability to do both, opened up the game. The one thing that we're missing is, and this is for both halves, the one thing when you've got a team that are almost playing the low block, you need someone that's going to go past players, and we don't have enough of that. We have too many players getting the ball where they were one-on-one situations and playing it backwards and starting to play across the back again. And that for me is an issue going into other games. You had the likes of the likes of Anthony Gordon that was willing to take on a man, that was willing to run at them, that was willing to commit going forward. But other than that, we didn't really have a player that was willing to do that. And that for me is a big concern moving forward. And this is why we kind of miss Joe Willock. We miss Joe Linton when he's 100% fit because they have the ability and the pace to be able to do that. So that was the kind of the big standout for me because they were there to be. Brentford were there to basically say, we want to get to halftime at 0-0. That was basically what they set out their stall to make it difficult for us, so we didn't get the early goal. And they succeeded, but we were unlucky. The Bruno chance, great header, couldn't do anything wrong with it. Everything he did was right. Just a good save, simple as that. But yeah, nervous start, but we grew into the game.
Cool. You're right to pinpoint Gordon there. As I remember that run he did down the right, where he skinned his man and then he cut him back. He did a 1-2. It was a nice little move. It was probably one of our biggest highlights from that first half. But yeah, we could have done more of that. There's 134 people in the chat. Make sure you watch. Actually, it's going up. There's more and more people coming back from the match. Smash that like button and stay tuned as well for what's coming tomorrow, because we've got two, not one, but two massive shows coming your way tomorrow. So tune in at the end to hear about that. So yeah, block book your evening tomorrow. It's going to be a loaded evening. Right, let's get into the second half. Actually, 400 likes as well. I want 400 likes. That's achievable. After a win, we want 400 likes. All right, definitely. 56 minutes. A bit of action first. Actually, we started to play better in the second half. But yeah, Wilson had the ball in the net, but VAR ruled it as a foul on the keeper. Very slight touch on the keeper. But Pete, I'm going to go to you and on your thoughts on whether that should have been stood, or what was your thoughts on the challenge?
It was one of a number of poor decisions from the referee and VAR. I have to be honest, nothing wrong with it. And to be fair, I think Callum Wilson really articulated himself well in his interview afterwards when he explained that the keepers get too much protection. If they are literally looking at Callum Wilson almost shielding himself from the goalkeeper to create the space, and his arm touches, his hand touches the goalkeeper's arm. Like literally, it's for a split second. If that's enough to stop the goalkeeper from being able to move, then I worry for the goalkeeper, and I worry for all goalkeepers, because the amount of stuff that goalkeepers get away with, i.e., Onana against Wolves, I would like to argue that, you know, how things can't get given for that, but then we get a decision that's perfectly fine given against us, I thought was an absolute disgrace. Nothing wrong with the goal. I thought Callum Wilson shielded himself and created the space lovely. A little bit of a scramble, but then he managed to find the hole to put it in the net. I thought it was a really good goal. Nothing wrong with it. But yeah, like I say, one of a number of mistakes that the referee made. He had a really poor performance. But to be fair, he's not a great ref anyway. Whether he's reffing on Newcastle or not, he always gets decisions wrong.
Chris, Pete says touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Are you of the opinion that Sweet Caroline should have given the goal?
Mate, it was a disgrace. Honestly, and I feel that strongly about it because you know what? We won the game 1-0. And the reason I feel so strongly about it is because, like, we may not have got that penalty decision. Like, I don't think it was the most stonewall of penalties. Don't get me wrong, I wanted it. And I think the referee made the right decision. But half of me thought, you know, because he was adamant over the pen, I thought that's because he knows he's made the balls up over the previous one. Because it was bad. It was bad. And what irritated me more about it is Craig Pawson took ages, you know, to make his mind up and then said, oh, no foul. Now, at that point, why aren't VAR coming in, getting onto him on his microphone and saying, listen, mate, you've made a mistake there. We've watched it back about 6, 7, 8 times. There's not enough contact. There's no way. You know what I mean? There's no way there's a foul. And the fact that they didn't do that, any ex-professional footballer who would have watched that back, everyone would have gone, yeah, no foul. Definitely a goal. No problem with it. The fact that we got the penalty, which I know we'll probably touch on in a minute, is part of me does feel that like the referee, because as soon as it happened, referee pen, and I thought that's to me that was him paying us back because, as I say, you could argue that the ball was practically out of play, and that the rhythm or the fact that it came in, the keeper shouldn't have came. There was no reason to come because the ball was going nowhere, but. It angers me and it annoys me so much because it was such a tight game. And, you know, if we'd have gone 1-0 up then, we could have ended up winning that 3-0, 3-1, something like that. But instead, it was nervy and then we had to grind it out and then we relied on that penalty. And I just think for referees and officials and VAR to all miss that is just beyond me because, you know, for the fact that the referee said, oh, yeah, it's a foul, you know, rule it out, and then VAR not to get involved is really, really poor in my opinion. Because there's no way that was a foul. No way.
Well, as Chris alluded said, there is talk of a penalty coming up, so thanks for that, Chris. But no, we move on. Right after that VAR goal being disallowed moment, Brentford went up the pitch, and they had a half chance as well. The 2 minutes later, they could have potentially scored, but 68 minutes, foul on Gordon. Barnes puts the ball in. Gordon goes to the ball. Keeper makes a mess of it. Gordon he angled his body well and took the foul and a penalty. So what happens next? The main man, Callum Wilson, who's just after signing an extension to his contract, and in that he says, I'm close to getting into the 100 club and also becoming the second all-time Premier League goal scorer for Newcastle. Would be amazing achievement, having looked up to Shearer for many years. So yeah, he's not. He wants to get back those goals. So up he steps, the coolest man around. Top corner. 1-0 Newcastle, and I have to play the little video as well. Where is it? Here it is. 1-0 Newcastle, top corner. Pete, your thoughts on the pin-out from Wilson?
I always get a little bit nervous when Callum Wilson steps up for a pen, and I don't know why, because he's got 10 in 10. But what I will say is from when he was first taking his penalties when he first signed for the club to now, he's definitely been practicing, because that penalty was a superb penalty. It really, really was. Puts it right in a position where the goalkeeper's got no chance. Goalkeeper goes the right way, gets a good arm outstretched, and still is nowhere near it. A really, really well taken penalty. And yeah, he's becoming the guy that you can trust when he steps up. And it's a big moment, but you need big players, and he is a big player and a leader in our team, and he took advantage of that and dispatched it fantastically. And I think he's 7 away from becoming second in the all-time leading goal scorer for Newcastle in the Premier League. Fantastic achievement if he gets that, which I'm sure he will.
I think he is on about 81 in the Premier League, so that's 82 today. So he's 18 away from the 100 club as well. But Chris, we'll go to you. Do you think it was a penalty? Any doubts in your mind?
I wouldn't say it wasn't a penalty, because I screamed for it. I wanted it, but I just thought I could see, if they didn't give it, I could see why, is what I'd say. I still think it was a penalty, but I do think it was slightly marginal because of where the ball was going. But like I say, I think the reason that he just said penalty, and once he gives that penalty, VAR are never overruling it. They're not going to overrule it, because there was enough there for it to be a penalty. But if he said no penalty, I'm not sure VAR would have overruled it, is what I'm saying. So I'm glad he gave the decision. And in terms of the penalty itself, like when he scored, obviously I was celebrating and stuff. And then when I watched it back, I was like, wow, that was some penalty. That I didn't appreciate how much power he got into it. And, it was literally right in the top corner. And the keeper went the right way. But he was never getting near that. Fantastic penalty. But I agree with what Pete said. For some reason, because the camera was zooming in on his face, and I was thinking, he looks nervous here. He looks proper nervous. And I was thinking, oh my God. But, that's what, 11 and 11 now for Newcastle for penalties. So he's the man when it comes to penalties. But for some reason, I feel like a bit.
We're all nervous.
I don't know what it is, but he's given us no reason to be nervous. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because he's put a few down the middle, and the keeper's always been reasonably close. He still buries it, but that penalty tonight was brilliant, brilliant pen.
And what you can see the relief on everyone's faces in the crowd as well. Just a big kind of sigh of relief. But then we still have work to do then, because moving on, 79 minutes, we were awarded by the referee another penalty, but this time it went to VAR and no penalty. The ball coming off Mwembo's head and hitting his hand. Pete, your thoughts? Should that one have been a penalty?
Letter of the law. If it comes off another body part first and hits your hand, it's not a penalty. But of course, I think if you're the team that is going to get the penalty, of course you're going to call for it. You're going to want it. To be fair, in live play, I personally didn't see it when I was watching it on the TV. But ultimately, the ref made the decision and then changed it. I desperately wanted the penalty because I wanted this to get the second goal. I think I put it in our chat as soon as we scored the goal. I said we need the second goal, just for that comfort. I think just to calm those nerves of our players, because it feels weird. Like we've been running on so much confidence for the last 18 months, but those three defeats have kind of it's jangled the confidence a little bit, and I think we needed to ease that. But look, it is what it is. The ref made the decision, or should I say, VAR made the decision, and he went with it. Yeah, if that was against us, I think I'd have been annoyed. I'd have been asking them to go and review it, in my opinion. But look, it is what it is. We got the result anyway. Who cares?
Chris, was the second one a penalty for you?
Nah, never a pen.
No.
It was two reasons. Pete's pointed out one of them. The fact that it came off another body part, then hit the arm, and also, and I heard the commentator saying this as well, was it an unnatural position, the arm? And I'd say it wasn't. I mean, he's backing onto a player, and yourself, when you back up, your arm, I'm doing it now, your arms go up, and his arm's there, and then it hits his arm, and it's like, I wanted it, but as soon as they said it was, obviously they were going to check and all that, it was like, yeah, he's not going to give it. And to be fair, that was the right decision was made in the end on that one. And I noticed the commentator was utterly, made up with that, saying, "Oh, they're correct. This is what VAR's all about, the correct decision." And I'm thinking, well, sorry, have you not been watching the rest of the match? But yeah, the right call was made on that, I think, even though I wanted it.
Ultimately, it didn't matter. It didn't come back to hundreds. But
No.
82 minutes, Barnes came off. Mickey came on. 9 minutes injury time. A bucket of yellow cards for us after that. One to Wilson. Gordon picked up another one. He's on 4 now. Bruno got one. We ran down around the time, taking it into the corners, like we should do. Play out the time. 1-0 and a clean sheet. Happy days. We get a win. Our second win of the season. I also see there's 174 people in the like. Make sure you hit that like button if you're new. Subscribe. If you weren't here earlier, I set a target of 800 likes. 800 likes. So double the numbers, we double the likes. Yes, you know what to do. Hit that like button. That was it. There was one last thing. Something we haven't seen for a while. I missed these. This.
Yes.
Get in. Love this. We haven't seen one of them for a while now. So I didn't. This is my first time actually looking. I stuck it up on screen, but I didn't actually look at it till now. But yep, nice one. Hope to see many more of those as the season progresses. But what do you think, lads? Are you going to a bit of ratings? Who's your man of the match?
Chris, go for it.
I'm stuck between two. It's either going to be Gordon or Wilson, and I think I've got to give it to Wilson. Kept his nerve. I thought he caused, Brentford's problems all day. I think in the first half he had, and they were very, very half chances, but one of those he could have put one of those away. If he'd had a bit more luck, or if the ball had landed slightly nicer for them. But I just thought, he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders today. Just signed a new contract. He's come in. He's the main guy, and he's done the business when it matters. And in the end, he scored the winning goal. So, yeah, for me, I've got to go Callum Wilson. I thought he was a threat against Brentford all game. And yeah, he has a bit, a lot of pressure on him tonight, and he's done the business. So I've got to give it to Callum Wilson.
Awesome. Pete, man of the match.
Yeah, it's hard to look past Callum Wilson. Pressure penalty. Played the proper striker's role in a very physical game. That's probably the one thing that's lacking from Isak's game that he'll probably need to develop as he continues at Newcastle, is those games where you have to be back to goal, you have to be physical, you have to cause the centre-backs problems. It's not all about running in behind anymore. When you're playing Premier League football, it's about what you do in those tough moments. And Callum Wilson is that guy. I thought he was fantastic. And this is why back in the masterclass show, I made the call and I said he needs to come in. And he's fully justified, in my opinion, why I thought he needed to come in. It was a perfect game for him. I thought he was brilliant. And I'll be honest, I fully expect him to start against Sheffield United because I think it'll be very much a similar game. However, I've got to give a big shout out to Anthony Gordon. I really like what I'm seeing from him at the moment.
Yeah.
Back in the last season, I think we all were question marking him of where he was going to go and what he was going to do, but he has really kind of stepped it up. And what he gives now on the pitch, the only thing he's missing is his final ball. If he can get more assists, if he can get more goals, he'll be in the England squad. He'll be starting every week for us without question, one of the first on the team sheet, because he, other than that, has all the hallmarks of what Eddie Howe wants in a player. His work rate, his ability to run the channels, his ability to make something out of nothing. And that's exactly what he did for the penalty. Any one of them, Miguel Almiron does not continue to chase that ball and sees that out for a goal kick. And we don't get the penalty off the back of that. He didn't give up. he continues to press high up the pitch. I'm looking at it at 95, 96 minutes. He's still pressing up alongside Callum Wilson to push the opposition back late on in the game. That is exactly what we need from our winger. And as I said to you right at the beginning of the analysis, he is the only one that was willing to take on a player today. He was the only one that was willing to go at a player and play the risk football, which is take on a man and try and make something happen. And to be fair, whenever he did that, the game opened up and we allowed us a second position of possession, or it created into an opportunity. Long may it continue. Long may his confidence continue. And hopefully we get to see that one little bit that's missing, and that's the final ball, the final pass, the goal. We need to see more of that. Because that will make him the complete player, in my opinion. So, yeah, he deserves his flowers today, although he's not my man of the match. Anthony Gordon, I thought was very, very good.
Cool. I'm with you guys as well. It's a Wilson for me, and yeah, I agree with everything you said there, Pete, about Gordon. He never give up. But there's an art to that. Man United used to be brilliant at it, winning ugly, not playing to the best of our ability, but getting the result and running down the clock as well, and just being sensible with it. But let's look at, and as I see, we're nearly on 200 people in the chat. Yes.
Sorry. Alan Thompson just put on there the downside for Gordon is getting booked, and yeah, you can see it as a downside. But what about his endeavour? What about his work rate? What about his passion for the game? Isn't that what all Newcastle fans want? All Newcastle fans want passion and determination and that desire. Because if we didn't have any of those things, Alan, we don't get the penalty today. We don't get the win. So you can argue about the bookings. Bruno Guimaraes has got 3 bookings. No one's talking about that. He's only 2 away from a ban. You know, it swings and roundabouts. But you've got to also remember, Alan, that on top of that, referees are giving bookings a lot easier this season than ever before. So I'm not going to hold Gordon to account on his bookings, because everybody's getting booked for things that actually quite rightly shouldn't be getting booked for. So that was just kind of to answer that one. I'm not going to let that deter from a very, very good performance from Anthony Gordon.
Cool. Let's look. It was nearly 200 people in the chat, and we were missing earlier. We want likes. We want 1,000 likes. Right. Let's move on. That is the target. Let's go to ratings, but let's group them from. Okay. We obviously have to group Nick Pope on his own, but a clean sheet. It's been a while since Nick Pope saw a clean sheet, and he didn't have an awful lot to do, but. Anyone want to throw out a rating for Nick Pope?
I'll kick us off. I would give Nick Pope an 8 today, because he made a particularly important save. I think it was in the first 10-15 minutes, where he stood up strong, and it was you know what, you watch it back, and that could easily have gone in, but he stood up strong, made himself big, and made a crucial save tonight. And there was a few occasions, where the ball was looping in, or where he had to come and claim it, and he did that well. It was more like the Nick Pope that we saw last season tonight, and I thought he played well. No doubt it helped him having Sven Botman back. I wouldn't take anything away from that, but for me, I'd give Nick Pope an 8. Are we doing goalie, defence, midfield, striker, or do you want me to pair the midfield, the defence together with the goalie?
No, we'll leave the goalie separate, and we'll go defence next. Yeah,
cool.
And any higher or lower than 8? I think 8 is a fair result there. Pete, any thoughts?
No, probably it was 7.5, 8 for me. 2 things of real note, maybe 3. The save in the first half, where it hits his shoulder. I think it's from Aaron Hickey. Great, great save, great reaction save. They were the type of saves that he was making last season that was keeping us in games, that was getting us those clean sheets. And he made that one today. Didn't know much about it, but his body position was right. He was in the right area, covering the ground. And it took a deflection as well. And how many times have we been screwed over by deflected shots that have ended up in the back of the net? So, props to Nick Pope. What I loved about Nick Pope, I'll quickly touch on his distribution was much better today because he kept it simple. He just needs to keep it simple. He's not great on the ball. We all know that. Just keep it simple. Just find your man. Don't try and do anything over and above what his station is. But what I loved about him, I think it was a 96, 97 minute, coming out, collecting the ball, going to ground, just taking all the pressure off the defence to say, I'm here. I'm going to take the pressure off you. That is what my goalkeeper should be doing. It was great to see him confident enough so late on in the game to come and do that.
Nice one. So let's move to the defence. And Botman back in there was a major bonus, and I think that it was key to our victory today. But anyone stand out for you in the defence, and what would you give the defence as a whole, guys? Chris, we'll go to you first.
I'd probably give the defence an 8 as well. I thought the weathered the storm on a lot of occasions. We seemed far more organised with Sven Botman at the back. My standout defender, it's probably between Trippier and Botman. Although I do, Shah putting his body on the line as he always does. Got to give him credit. He got an elbow in the face, and he took it like a man and got on with it. You know what? I'm going to say my standout was Sven Botman. Solid across the four. There was a couple of occasions where Dan Burn looked a bit shaky, but he made a really important interception late on in the game.
The end.
Yeah, and you can't downplay that. So I think as a group as a whole, I'd probably say an 8. But yeah, somebody in the chat said it before. Massive confidence boost keeping that clean sheet as well. So full credit to the back four and also Nick Pope tonight.
Cool. Pete, I think Brentford did try and target that our left hand side, and with Hickey going down the right. But what's your thoughts on the defence as a whole?
As I've been saying it for weeks now, teams target Dan Burn. Same happened again. In the Geordies Down South chat, Emeka, one of my good mates, he put it on the chat and he was like, Brentford are targeting Dan Burn. I said, I've been saying it for fucking weeks. This is what they're doing, which is why it's so difficult when he plays in matches. I'll talk about Dan Burn in a bit, like after we've done all the ratings. I thought Dan Burn did okay, but I thought the other three were much, much better. I'm similar to Chris in terms of, Botman and Trippier being probably the two outstanding defenders. Sven Botman has been injured for like the last 2 weeks, and he just comes in and the guy's seamless. Yeah. Only elite defenders come in and play like that after an injury. He'd have had minimal training. As Eddie Howe said, he only trained in the last week and he puts in a performance like that. The guy is so crucial to Newcastle United. But equally, Kieran Trippier, I thought, was outstanding today. His leadership, his manipulation of the ball, his control of what happens with the ball when he's not even got it. He was unbelievable today watching him play. He was at his best. Yes, we know he's got his weaknesses with his pace. But I tell you what, he makes up with it in terms of intelligence. And I don't know if you saw it. I can't remember what minute it was, but there was a clip. And Trippier is kind of organising them and kind of telling people what to do when they've got the ball. And it cut to a scene where Livramento's on the subs bench and he's just watching him.
Yeah, he's engrossed in it.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, I hope you're watching this. I hope you're taking everything in, because this is what you've got to get past in order to start for Newcastle United. Like, he has to play that. He has to play that Trippier. He's got more pace than Trippier. He can get forward. He can get balls into the box. But has he got the leadership? Has he got the manipulation of the ball? Has he got the leadership to be able to dictate the play? Trippier was brilliant today. So I'd probably say Trippier desperately needed it.
Agree, Pete. Right, let's move to the midfield and your thoughts on midfield. Now, we pinpointed this as our biggest weakness against Brighton, and as I said pretty much at the start of the show as well, that rather than having a static number 6, we had kind of an alternating role where Bruno was there, then Longstaff would jump in there, they cover each other. Elliot Anderson was in there for times as well, which allowed Bruno to go forward, which he did. He took that opportunity to do. They seem to kind of complement each other today. It worked better, and I know we're going to be missing Joe Linton now for a few weeks, but your thoughts on the midfield. And Chris, I'll go to you first. And actually, there's 225 watching live. Make sure you hit that like button. The target is 2,000 likes. How'd you like that, Adam? Right, Chris, your thoughts on the midfield?
Yeah, the midfield, much improved. Is it to that high quality that we expect or desire? Not tonight. But it was much improved on what we've seen the last few weeks. I think Bruno looked, back up to his usual high level. I thought Bruno had a really good game. Having Sean Longstaff there, you hit the nail on the head, Daz. When you've got, sometimes you can look at across our midfield options, and we might all go, yeah, Joe Linton on the left, Tonali on the right, and then Bruno Holden. I think we are missing Joe Willock. I think we are missing Sean Longstaff. And Sean Longstaff came in tonight and he did a really good job, a really important job, because we still saw Bruno making them lung-busting runs, and he's in and around that 18-yard box, as I say. And to be honest, that's where you want him, because there was moments today where Bruno, was carrying the ball forward, making us progressive. He's so good on the ball, and he can very, very quickly, establish where he wants to put it. And he just turns the ball over really nicely, and he gets us moving, and he gets us further up the pitch. And, to kind of stagnate Bruno and leave him in that 6 and keep him there and tell him not to go forward, we would miss that. But having the likes of Sean Longstaff in there, who, as you rightly say, Daz, they will all rotate, the 3 of them. And I thought Elliot Anderson, came in and did well tonight. Probably not his best game that we'll ever see in black and white, but I thought that, he did a job. And I don't think he's done himself a disservice whatsoever this evening. But is it the best midfield performance we've seen? No. Will we remember it? Probably not. But that's not taking anything away from them. And I do think that we've looked far better tonight in the midfield than we have in previous weeks. So maybe slightly harsh, but I'm gonna go with a 7 overall, and my star man was Bruno. And that, as I say, the reason it's not higher than that is because I would like to see more. But the fact that we've steadied the ship and the balance of those 3 worked well, this evening. But yeah, I'd say 7, I think.
Okay, that's fair enough. Cheers, Chris. Pete, your thoughts on midfield?
I thought midfield was very good. The one thing I'll say is the word freedom. And that's what Bruno Guimaraes had today. Freedom to go and dictate the play. The freedom to go and do what we brought him to do. Is it make things happen moving forward. I thought Bruno was very, very good today. He looked happy. He looked content. He looked where he wanted to be. Now, talked about it before, his relationship with Sean Longstaff and that natural understanding, whether it's corners, free kicks, whether it's in play. Sean Longstaff's always the deepest of the midfield 3. But Sean Longstaff's got the ability to get up and down and will link the play. You'll see him go forward at times, but we want Bruno further forward, and that's exactly where he was on the pitch. How many times have we seen Bruno Guimaraes before today pressing the centre-backs, pressing the full-backs alongside Callum Wilson? We saw that 6-7 times today. Why? It's because he knows he can do it, and he's got Sean Longstaff to have his back. Yeah. And that's exactly what we saw when Bruno Guimaraes first came into this team. So we got to see the Bruno Guimaraes that we know and love today, and that's the reason why I thought he was played so well. So big props to Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff looked fitter today. He looked more agile today. He hadn't been fit. He didn't look fit before today's game. He's clearly done some work over international break. And the fact that he tweeted out about the game today says that he was starting first and foremost, but he was bang up for it and he proved it. He was very, very good today. Elliot Anderson, I don't think he was great, but that's because I don't think he fits the balance of this midfield three. For me, it was crying out for a Joe Linton. It was crying out for a Joe Willock, someone that's got the legs, someone that can carry the ball long distances. I can't remember where we saw it, but we saw some stats about Joe Willock and his ball carries, progressive ball carries up the pitch from last season. And we do massively miss that. We massively missed that today. I never expected Sandro Tonali to play, by the way, so that's why I'm not really talking about him. But the balance of the midfield wasn't quite right for Elliot Anderson today. And actually in the second half, where I thought he would kick on, he actually went missing and he became a little bit quiet in the game. So, look, this is a baptism of fire. He's been given an opportunity to prove himself. You know, he'll have many more opportunities, but it just wasn't the right game for him today, in my opinion. But yeah, anywhere between 7 and 7.5 for the three.
Cool. Let's move to the attack, and the attack is the one that we called for in the masterclass, led by you, Pete, and your suggestion for Wilson, and we all came around to that way of thinking as well, that Wilson deserved his chance, and then he got his contract as well during the week. So it was all teed up for Wilson to start. So Wilson in up front, we had Barnes on the left and Gordon moving over to the right. But your thoughts on the attack, and Chris, we'll go to you first.
Okay, so I was thinking, do I downgrade the rating? But I'm not going to. I'm going to give the attack a 9 tonight. In the main, that's down to Callum Wilson and Anthony Gordon. I don't want to kind of put too much shades on Harvey Barnes because I think he really improved in the second half. But that first half performance did worry me a little bit, and I was kind of thinking, come on, we need more from you. But it's his first start, and you know we need to run a game. So I just hope Eddie, sticks with that front three now, because I saw a lot of promising signs tonight. Callum Wilson, as we already said, was man of the match. I thought he was outstanding. Anthony Gordon, man him close. Again, it's so nice having that option on the right now with Anthony Gordon, where he could go right or he could go left. And I hate saying this because I don't like to be critical, but when Miggy came on and he got it in the corner flag, and then he then reverted back to his left, and it's just so predictable now. And I love Miggy, and I think I love him to bits, and I love his work rate. And he was exactly what we needed today, by the way, at the right time, because he did, provide that energy and that lung busting running as we always see, and we need that in the latter stages of the game. But tactically, I just thought, and this is why it's brilliant now that they're putting Anthony Gordon out on the right, which is allowing Harvey Barnes to play on the left, because Anthony Gordon can go either way, and he provides what Miggy provides, but he's got the ability to use both feet. But yeah, so I think overall I'm going to stick with a 9 for the three of them. And yeah, I'd like to see the three of them get a run now, because I think going forward, especially with the form that Wilson's in, I think deserves to stay in the team. So yeah, I'm going to say 9 for the three of them.
And Chris, you're saying that with focus on the Premier League, like the game against Sheffield United. So, we'll ask that question after Pete gives his answer here. But you probably want to mix it up for the Champions League, I imagine.
Funny enough, I put in the private chat, didn't I, as a question? That might have been the question.
Okay. So we'll go to your question right after this.
You've read my mind, Oz.
We've been doing this way too long. Pete, thoughts on your on the attack for you?
Yeah, look, I would say the attack was 8.5 today. I thought the attack were good. Wilson, we've talked about how good he was. I've got to give props to Ethan Pinnock. Ethan Pinnock is a fantastic defender. I thought he was brilliant today. Cleared everything, every cross that came in, his head was on everything. gave Wilson a real battle. You know, when he came to St. James, I think it was his first game in ages, months, when he came to St. James's Park last season, and I think he scored an own goal as well. When we beat him 5-1. And that wasn't a good yardstick to kind of judge him by, but he's a really good defender. But Callum Wilson rose to the occasion and was fantastic up against him and really caused him problems. Anthony Gordon, what you get is the ability to run at defenders, but crosses. We saw so many more crosses today because Anthony Gordon's right-sided and he gets the ball and he drives forward, and Trippier knows that he can release the ball to him and he's going to get a ball into the box. Wilson knows he can make a run because a ball is going to come into the box. It might not always come to him, but he knows to make a run because he knows a ball's coming. And Harvey Barnes was a little bit quiet in the first half, a little bit laboured. When I talked about how players were playing too safe, passing it backwards, he was one of them. You know, not willing to take his man on and really kind of commit the defender. But in the second half, he made some really intelligent runs in and behind the back line, and kind of grew into the game, really, and became more of a threat. He started to use, you know, we talked about it over the last 2 years before with Alan St. Maximin. I kept saying to you boys, he needs to mix up his game. He needs to use his left foot, go down the left and whip the ball in, but also use his right foot. What you got from Harvey Barnes in the second half was doing just that. And he kept his fullback guessing. He never knew what Harvey Barnes was going to do. And actually, we created chances of him just knocking it onto his left and whipping a ball into a box. And that's what I liked about him, because he started to open up his game. He's going to need to do it a little bit more. He's not always going to get that ball in and behind, one-on-one, in on goal. So he's going to have to open his game up, but I thought he grew into the game quite nicely. So yeah, overall, I thought they were very good. But interestingly, you mentioned about Miguel Almiron, Chris. What I thought was quite telling watching the game is that exact scenario that you talked about, where he ran down the wing. He got released down the wing, and he could have drove into the box and he cut back onto his left. And the thing that stuck with me is the groans in the stadium.
Yeah, there was.
I thought that was a really telling moment. The fact that there were groans when he cut him back onto his left. We kept possession. We kept the ball ticking.
He did the job. He did the job.
He did the job, and we kept the ball in possession, and I think we worked it to the other side of the pitch or something like that. But the groans in the stadium, I think, would have said a lot, maybe to him and certainly to Eddie Howe, that it's so repetitive, it's so predictable. We get the same from him every time, and if we can see that that's going to happen, the opposition team that are going to be analysing his game are going to know that he's going to do that, so they're going to play to that strength to allow him to just get the ball and just pass it back to Trippier or to Bruno and keep the ball in possession. We need someone that's direct, and that's why I think Gordon has to be the choice going forward on that right-hand side. He has to be.
And you know what the problem as well, Pete, is? And this is a question for you both. I think I know the answer. But if the game was 1-1, would Miguel Almiron have done exactly what he did then?
What, in that situation where he cut back?
Yeah.
If the game was 1-1?
Yeah.
He'd have done exactly the same.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. He did the right. It was the right thing to do in that moment, because because everyone groans and I groans, and then I thought, oh no, actually this is good, because he's not just going to lose the ball, or they're going to get possession back and take it up the pitch. But that's just his game. That's just what he does, and that's where the groans come from.
He had time though, Chris.
Yeah.
If anybody watches that again, he could drive into the box.
Oh yeah.
He could drive with his pace and his trickery. When he runs at defenders, like even in tight spaces, all it needs is a slight bit of contact and he goes down and win a penalty. Like, he has the ability to travel into those spaces. We don't see this enough from wingers anymore. He's driving into that tight space, into that space that might be getting us towards a 6-yard box. We don't see him drive in now. It's always the cutback to another player in the box, or the simple, like, comfortable pass. Like, we don't see it enough. Miggy needs to do more. He needs to commit defenders more. He doesn't commit defenders enough. He's got the pace. He's got the trickery to do it. He gets a lot of opportunities in open play to run at players, and he just doesn't do it enough. And it's the one thing that lets him down. So I'm not surprised that fans groaned. I groaned, you groaned, Chris. You've just said it. As you probably thought, fucking hell, the same. You know what I mean? It's the same old, and it's frustrating. It is frustrating. Yes, we kept possession, but there are going to be times in games where we need to commit players.
We've got still someone groaning. Yano's in the chat there. He's groaning at these ratings. But we won. We won. Yano, we won. Look at. Also, I want to say just one little comment. That was Barnes' first start for us as well, and he did grow into the game, and it was great to see. So there's an awful lot more to come from Barnes. But I want to tell people what's happening tomorrow really first before we potentially lose anyone. We're going to go to your question, Chris, and we're going to go to questions from the chat as well. But we have 2 shows on tomorrow. First up at 8 o'clock, we're back with this man. We chased him all summer. We finally got our man. We got so hopefully we've got Kieran Maguire. Kieran Maguire is back with us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So get your questions in for Kieran in the chat tomorrow, and we'll ask him a few ourselves. So that should be a very interesting one, focusing on FFP and what we may have left to work with, and with the sponsorship deals as well. His thoughts on that front. Then at 9:30, straight after Kieran Maguire, it's straight into another show. Pete, you've been dying for this one. Tell us about it.
Vinny's going to be joining us. AC Milan fan. If you saw the Tonali kind of low down when he first signed to the club, and we got our feedback, they are back. Looking forward to this music as well to come back. That's for sure. But the Milan Weekly podcast, Vinny, who's a superb guest, is going to be coming and joining us again, and he's really excited to come and preview the game. He might be a little bit less excited after their thumping into Milan. 5-1 they got beat today. And if you haven't saw Marcus Thuram's goal,
good,
it's an absolute cracker. Top bins is all I'll say. But I don't know how happy he'll be or how worried he'll be, but look, we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at lineups. We're going to talk about their starts of the season,
League, baby. Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about the Champions League. Can we get those early 3 points on the doors? Should be a good one. Looking forward to it.
Should be a good one. And hit the music again there, Chris, because we're back then on Tuesday night to review that game, because the game is on early. So why not? We'll do a review show that night. Back with that one. So looking forward to the first Champions League reaction show and away days now on Loaded. So yes, and all together, look at this lineup for you. Oh, you guys! Wow, that's pretty. That's pretty.
Some may say it's stacked. Some may say it's stacked.
It is stacked. Yes, I heard they seem to have nearly got that planning permission as well, so that'll start taking shape as well, the old stacked. But so you know what to do. But we've asked for a couple of likes tonight. I don't know how many thousand we're at now, Lisa, but I think we're targeting 5,000. I think was the target tonight. So 5,000 likes. You know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe button. Chris, let's go to your question first before we go to the chat question.
Yes, so we've got a couple of questions in the chat, but the first question I wanted to ask is, and apologies if anyone else has put this in the chat, but given that performance, much improved on what we've seen in recent weeks, Callum Wilson's come in, he's been given the responsibility, scores the goal, wins us the match. What I want to ask is, does that throw Eddie Howe a bit of a headache for Tuesday, or do you think Eddie Howe still has a plan? Pete, we spoke about it, didn't we, on the away days, that we felt that Tonali was going to be vested and we felt that Isak could be vested. Does today change Eddie's mind, or do you think that he will still stick with what his initial plan is? I'll ask you first, Pete, and then we'll go to Daz.
I fully expect Alexander Isak to start at San Siro. I fully expect Sandro Tonali to start. The only question mark I have is, well, no, to be fair, yeah, the only question mark I have is no, it's not a question mark actually. Sandro Tonali comes in for Elliot Anderson. Maybe the question mark I have is who starts on the left and who starts on the right. He might move Sandro Tonali onto the right and Bruno onto the left. But Alexander Isak will start the Champions League campaign. There's a reason why he didn't come off the bench today. They've kept him fresh for Tuesday. Because I've got a feeling, unless he gets injured, which fingers crossed that never happens, I think he'll play close to the full 90 minutes with then Callum Wilson playing against Sheffield United. I think that's how he's going to use his team. Don't be surprised to see Livramento get some minutes at the San Siro on Tuesday. What capacity? I'm not quite sure. We may well discuss this on away days. I've got a feeling Livramento may well have an important role to play. In addition to that, I don't think Barnes and Gordon start. I think Almiron starts.
So you took some of what I was going to say there, Pete.
Sorry, apologize.
Yeah, no. I'm agreeing with most of what you said there. I think it's going to be Pope. Then our back four will remain the same. I'd like to see Hall, but it's not going to be his first game for us in the Champions League. No way. So he's going to stick with the same back four. I think Elliot Anderson will drop, and Sandro Tonali will come in. So it'll be Longstaff, Tonali, and Bruno. Then up front, I reckon it's going to be Gordon on the left, Isak in the middle, and on the right, it's going to be Miggy. I think. I think he'll. It won't be Barnes. So yeah, I think that's what he'll go with. And then, as you said, you back to Wilson for the Sheffield United game then as well. So, and that will suit Wilson. He's trying to rake up those goals to get into that 100 club. So it will suit him as well. Now he will get Champions League minutes as well as things go on. But that's what I think Eddie will do. Like we're turning around the games and we play again in 3 days, so it is pretty rapid, as do Milan because they play tonight as well. So yeah, that's what do you think, Chris?
You know what? I don't really know what I think. I agree with you boys. I think I am pretty sure that Isak will start, but that midfield is really puzzling because part of me's thinking you can't now drop Sean Longstaff.
No.
Like I think he's integral to this midfield three now. Now he's
especially with Chase Evan injured as well.
Yes, exactly. And obviously Willock's still out. But you want Tonali back in, so I think Elliot Anderson will drop out. I think it'll be Longstaff on the right, Tonali on the left, and I think Bruno will be holding. But I'm hoping that it is a fluid free where they all fill in for each other as and when needed. Up top, I'm going to say Isak through the middle, and I think, do you know what? I hadn't really thought about Miggy. I thought it was going to be Gordon. No, do you know what? I'll stick with what I originally thought. I think it'll be Barnes on the left, Gordon on the right. Yeah. I think he might give Barnes his second start. But the back four will remain the same and Nick Pope will remain the same. If not, the other option obviously is to put Gordon on the left and have Miggy on the right. But yeah, it's gonna be a fascinating game. And I tell you what, one big clash I'm really looking forward to seeing is Giroud against Botman. I think Botman's Giroud. He's not the quickest, as we know, and he's getting on.
Did he play today? Because he was injured, I think, wasn't he?
Is he injured?
He got subbed after 77 minutes. I don't know whether he's injured or not, so I wasn't watching the game. Obviously, we're watching the Newcastle game, but he started tonight.
He had a habit of scoring goals against us back in the day as well.
Very good player, very good player.
He's like fine wine. He's got better since he's been at AC Milan.
Yeah,
he's a quality player, and I tell you what, two players that came from the Premier League this season, Loftus-Cheek and Christian Pulisic. Those guys are playing some good stuff at the moment. Yes, they lost today. We know that. But those two, Loftus-Cheek has hit the ground running at AC Milan. Pulisic is looking like the player that we wanted.
Yeah.
Sort of, a year ago. He really does look a good player for them.
He's one I'm worried about, and that could play into Eddie Howe's thinking as well. Pete, we're going to need Trippier bang on the money because Rafa Leao is a fantastic winger, and Foxy makes a great point saying Miggy plays to help Trippier defensively double up on Leao. I think that's a great shout, really great shout.
He's a superstar.
Yeah,
Rafa Leao, superstar.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We have a couple of comments here. I didn't see this. Lee G says this. I didn't see this. Lads, did you feel we were lucky that Botman didn't concede a penalty in the first half for ragging their player down in the box? I honestly thought we were going to concede a pen. I didn't see that. No.
I saw the replay. They were holding each other. Nothing in it. Not really. I think the ref had a word with them before and anyway. But they were ragging each other all game. Like,
was it Collins? They were having
they
were best friends by the end of that game.
Yeah, Botman was in the battles all game, but it's what it is. It's 50-50. Pulling shirts, all the rest of it. You pull. Like there was one where I thought we were odds on for a free kick when I think someone was pulling. Was it Callum Wilson? Pulling someone's shirt on the halfway line. We'd progressed with the ball, but we got one of our players got pulled back. It might have been Callum Wilson, and I think it might have been Hickey. Hickey was literally ragging him down, literally his shirt was right down below his kind of below his hip, pulling him like mad. It was how was that not a free kick? But it's part of football. It goes on. Yeah. It is what it is.
Were you the same feeling, Daz?
Yeah, no, I don't remember that penalty shout, but yeah, look at it. There was nothing else. So I'm sorry, Lee. I don't remember it, but yeah, there was a lot of that going on in the game.
Yeah,
I thought Trippier should have had a free kick. I would say, where he was stood his foot,
the stamp on his foot.
Limping. Yeah, he was limping. Then after that,
clear as day. And Trippier's moaning to the referee, saying, "Can you not see that?"
Yeah.
How we missed that, I don't know.
I was worried, boys.
Yeah. Do you think he was going off?
He was holding his foot, and because obviously he broke his metatarsal the last time. Because the way in which he was holding his foot was similar to when he did against Villa, when he actually broke his metatarsal, and I was worried about that. But it was obviously a few minutes later, he was running down the wing, whipping the ball in, so that kind of filled me a bit more confidence. But I was worried initially because Trippier never really ever stays down, so he clearly was stood on. And then when you watch it back, you're thinking, how is he not given a free kick? And if I'm right in thinking, I think someone put this on Twitter. I'm right in thinking it was Norgard that stood on him, and it would have been a second yellow.
Yeah, second yellow.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was.
So yeah.
Just a thing I was just thinking about as well when all that Trippier thing was happening, but how is Livramento going to get game time? Because he can do a role in there, and we know he's a good player, but we're going to miss what Trippier brings in the leadership side of things. I think we could potentially fall apart if he's not on the pitch. So who's going to step up there then because Livramento has to get game in terms of maybe he could get on the wing, but that'll be interesting when that happens. It has to happen.
I agree with you, Daz. He's going to have, in my opinion, a patient 12 and 18 months. Take his time. Obviously, give him minutes as and when you can. Like you've said, maybe play him further up the pitch. Give him minutes up there. And I think for any cup games where there's a bit of a fixture congestion, I think that's where you bring him in. But hopefully he stays patient, and hopefully as I say, the longer that he's working with these lads, and that he's taken in. Pete mentioned it earlier about listening to everything that Trippier does, watch everything that Trippier does. when he does come into the fold, he's going to be permanently, he's going to be 22, 23, and he's going to be absolutely fantastic. So I think he's just got to be patient and wait for his opportunity, which will no doubt come.
I agree with that to a point. What you said, Chris, he's going to have to be patient because he started every week for Southampton. He was their main right back, playing every week, and he was outstanding playing for them before his injury. The one thing that I've got a question mark on, not for you, but the situation, is that we cannot have Trippier playing all of these games and then finishing up and going, there you go, Livramento, take over.
Yeah.
There has to be a transition. So there's going to have to be games this season, whether it's Premier League, whether it's Cup, whether Carabao, FA Cup, maybe even Champions League, where we go in the Champions League, for example, at 70 minutes, right? Trippier, let's get you rested for the weekend. Livramento, come on and do a job for us.
Yeah.
Carabao Cup against Man City. You're the man.
Yeah.
Go and show us that you deserve to be starting for Newcastle United. FA Cup, whoever it is. Livramento, you start that game. You give Trips a rest. You go start. And we're going to have to do that. And you might get fans go, oh, why's Trippier not playing? He should be playing because he's the leader and everything that we've said he is.
Yeah.
But Livramento is going to have to be exposed to that. We can't keep bringing him on 15, 20 minutes here and there because it's going to have a detrimental effect on his development.
That word you said, Pete, exposure is the key. It's exposure. He needs it because he's the future. He's the next 5 or 10 years. We've got to start looking ahead. You're absolutely spot on.
Same with Hall.
Yeah.
Same with your brother.
Now there's one more question, and well, I say a question, but we've already discussed it. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because I want your opinions on it, because I'm going to frame it slightly different. So, would I eat here? Perhaps put Miggy on for Barnes and leave Gordon on the right. Now we've spoken, haven't we, boys, for God knows how long about why don't you put Miggy on the left? Why don't you put Miggy on the left? And then Miggy can use his left foot, get the balls in the box, etc. Now. This, funnily enough, when I saw this comment from Was I Eat Here, it just made me think that this is why. I've got my opinion on it, but why do you think that Eddie Howe refuses to play Miggy on the left?
Go on, Daz. I'll let you go.
No idea. No idea why you wouldn't consider him on the left. He's such a good link up with Trippier. That, but he's not going to have that same with Barnes. Maybe, but we'll see how it works out when Hall's in there. But I'm not sure why he wouldn't try that.
Pete,
no, I think Daz has touched on one of the two things I was going to touch on. I think you're absolutely right, Daz. His link up with Trippier was so good last year. I don't think Eddie Howe wants to change that. But I think the other thing, and this for me is probably the most important reason and the reason why we get frustrated with him, is that Miggy never crosses the ball. It's almost like he doesn't know how to. And I feel bad saying that because there are a lot of good things to his game, but I genuinely don't believe he knows how to cross the ball. Because you never see him do it. He'll cut onto the left. He'll cut back onto his left and have all the time in the world to whip an inside cross, a cross that can be whipped inside that an attacker can run onto the end of. Like, you think of some of the best right wingers that were left-footed that were able to cut back inside and whip a ball in, that would be an absolute nightmare for defenders to defend and an absolute dream for attackers to get on the end of. He never does it. He never puts a ball into the box. So if he's not going to do it when he's got all the time in the world to do it, he's not going to do it in a natural winger's position where he's running down the left-hand side and whip it in with his left. So I just think that, for me, his lack of ability to be able to do that is the reason why they just don't play him there. They're the two things. The thing that Daz mentioned before is his link up with Trippier, and the other thing is that he just never crosses the ball. They're my two reasons why.
Do you know the one thing I'd add to it, and this I don't know if you agree with me on this, but it was just like a penny drop moment for me. I thought, because we've seen how Miggy just does not want to use his right foot. He just doesn't want to use it. He'll do everything he can not to use it. And the couple of times we have seen him do it, it's not gone very well for him. I wonder whether the reason he doesn't play him on the left is because the amount of times when your left winger's running down the line and then the defender blocks the run, to go to the byline, and they have to come back on the right foot. And I think to myself, how many times would we lose possession, or would Miggy get shrugged off the ball, or would the right back get the ball off him, and then we'd all of a sudden they'd be on the counter. And it just made me think: is the lack of confidence of Miggy on his right foot? Is that why he won't put him there? Because as soon as Miggy cuts back from that byline to then come back onto his right foot, there's a problem. And I think the right back would be all over it.
They've tried it in training as well, and Eddie Howe hasn't liked what he's seen, so he doesn't even consider it as an option then.
Alex, two review statos have put in there 0.78 crosses per 90 for Amir on the bottom 4th percentile in Europe. I think that answers your question.
Wow.
And that's why I say you never see him cross the ball in.
No.
And there you go. So, Alex, hope you're well. Great seeing you in the chat, mate.
Funnily enough, I was listening to Alex and Paul there on Spotify earlier on when I was driving home. So nice to see you in the chat as well, Alex.
And that's it for the questions, boys.
There's one more.
Oh, there's one more.
Yeah, well, I've only just started, and it's from Yano.
Go for it.
I know Yano's been getting a lot of questions bombarded to him for his opinions on the game today. Look, this is why we do a review. Not everyone's going to agree.
No.
Us three and Richie, when he's here, we don't always agree on things coming from the game. People in the chat don't always agree. This is why we do what we do. There's no pointing fingers. There's no calling people out. There's no arguments or fallouts. Everybody has a different opinion on the game and how they see it, and we respect everyone for that. This is what we do on Loaded Mag NUFC. So anyone kind of like questioning Yano, it's his opinion, just like our opinion, Chris's opinion, Daz's opinion. Like Alan has an opinion on something that I didn't agree with. I mentioned something. He respected that and we moved on. Charlie, would I eat there? All the rest of it. But Yano, just put in, sorry to steal it for a second. Chris, if you don't mind, 1 second.
I didn't know, go for it, mate.
Yano put, why not play all three? Barnes, Miggy, and Gordon behind Isaac
on the left.
and Wilson. You could play Sandra and Bruno in a midfield too. He's put the question out there. I think we have talked about it before as playing a 2 in midfield rather than a 3 and playing more of a number 10. Yeah. It's possible.
And you could, boys. Yano raises a great point as well, because I know we've said about not putting all our eggs in one basket, but if it gets to the point where you want an Isaac and you want Wilson in the team, perfect scenario doing a 4-2-3-1. You've then got Isaac in the number 10 sitting just behind Wilson. He can go and join them in the attack. He can link up the play. We know he likes to drift out wide, either on the left or the right. Could work out perfectly. If you had a midfield 2 with Bruno and Tonali, and then you had Gordon on the right, going the wrong way. Gordon on the right, Barnes on the left, Isaac in the 10, just behind Wilson. That's some force.
Yeah, we tackled that in the Loaded Masterclass after the Brighton game, and we just ruled it out that Eddie Howe won't he'll stick with 4-3-3, but he's going into uncharted territory now. We've never seen it. He's never been there. Europe, you never know. He could spring as a surprise and change formation. Can't see it happening. But
maybe like this.
He's back.
Maybe like this. Now look,
actually, you know what? Pete, you should sell this to Frank, the Brentford manager. He'd love to borrow this rather than his little tactic board together.
Thomas Frank, I'd love that.
No chance. No chance. I don't want him to get any better. I'll only sell it to Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe and Mad Dog, they're the only two. But like literally a situation like this now, of course, we're looking at Newcastle United players, so like we'd maneuver it out. But I assume you're looking at a Sandro Tonali Longstaff situation here. Elliot Anderson, you'd move him out. Who would you play in the middle? Would it be Gordon? Would it be Almiron?
Yeah, Isak.
It'd be Isak for me.
But I'm thinking Isak's up top.
Well, no, I'm playing Wilson up top. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is this for AC Milan? We're not doing 4-2-3-1. We're doing AC Milan.
Well, just any game. I think I don't think Yano specified whether it was AC Milan or in the Premier League. So it could be for any.
If it was Premier League, I'd have Wilson up top and I'd have Isak sitting just behind him, and then Isak can drift wherever he wants. He can go out on the left and help Barnes. He can go on the right and help out Gordon. I think Isak would cause all kinds of problems in that position.
The only problem here with this and the personnel there is that I don't want to see Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes up beside Isak. I want to see someone staying there back.
Yeah, you're right, Daz. You're right.
Because you're going to get this at times in the game, but you're going to need him to do that.
Yeah,
and then come back into that position.
Would probably work better. And that I keep discarding Tonali here. That would probably work better if you had Longstaff and Bruno sitting. There'd be occasions where Longstaff would go and Bruno would hold, and then 9 times out of 10 Bruno would go, but Longstaff would be sitting there waiting because he'd know Bruno's gone. I need to hold back, and then obviously your defense line pushes forward as extra support. Obviously, there's a chance of you getting caught on the counter, but if they push up, it provides more support for Sean Longstaff when he's holding and Bruno's gone up with Isak.
Yeah. So like when we've got the ball at our feet, this is kind of what we would expect, is to be really condensing the space. Yeah. Like into here. So you'd have like Botman and Shaw are always the two furthest back of the lot. You'd even have Trippier up here.
Yeah. And that's where Lewis Hall on the left.
Deeper. But sorry, carry on.
Sorry, mate. I was going to say that's where Lewis Hall will come into his own. If we had Lewis Hall on the left, he's going to cause all kinds of problems, and he's going to be up there helping Harvey Barnes.
Because this is Dan Burns' starting position. His is slightly deeper than Trippier. You see, Trippier is all the way up here, and this is where him and Rico Henry. Hopefully, Rico Henry's not seriously injured. He went off injured. He played really well until his injury. I really rate him as a player. I think he's fantastic. But they had this battle here where he was trying to stretch Trippier in here, but Trippier was trying to stretch him in here. It was a really intriguing battle, but Burn tends to lock in as close to Botman as possible. And when he gets forward, like he really struggles to get back in. But that's his starting position. But Botman and Shaw always kind of start in and around here because they get time on the board to manipulate it and move it forward. But yeah, you've got this situation where you've got Bruno Guimaraes, Longstaff or Tonali, whoever it is in here. You either have two sitting or you have one sitting, and one of the two is going to venture forward. But what you have got, and you've mentioned it, Chris, is you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 that you would be able to trust that could go and win us the game.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the key.
The only problem is with that, when I mentioned about all the eggs in one basket, this isn't working, or you need fresh legs up top. You've got no additional striker to come on. You've got no impact.
Which is why I'm surprised that you put both of them in.
I know.
Purely for that reason, not because I don't disagree with it, because I agree with it, and I don't know, Daz, your thoughts about it, but it's because we haven't got anybody else to come in to do the job.
No.
So, and that's why I initially went with Wilson. So, like, if I took Wilson out and put Isak in, who plays in this spot for you boys?
For me, and I don't know, Daz, I don't know if you agree with this. Do you think having someone in the chat said it as well? Do you think having Miggy in that number 10 would I mean, Stato's just put there, Almiron doesn't have the skill set or technical level to play as a number 10 in our team, in my opinion. Isak would work well, but then if Gordon also starts, then all 3 forwards are on at the same time. So it's just what we've been saying, Stato. But the thing with Miggy is, because he's all action, because of his pace, because of his tracking, because of the fact he'd win you the ball back, because he's just a nuisance, isn't he? If Miggy was in that number 10, imagine the opposition counter. You've got Miggy running through the middle of the pitch, and he could potentially be breaking up, in this example, the likes of Janelt and Jensen. He could nick the ball off them because he like Miggy just doesn't stop running. Running. And I think the amount of possession he would win back in that position would be immense. But Daz, what do you think?
I think we need to buy another striker in somewhere, and then we can have Isak and Wilson there, or Wilson on the bench. So and we're not seeing this anytime. The question I have, right, and it's a really one I should ask you off air, Pete. But do you have to type in all the names of the players, like when you change this to AC Milan? Do you have to, or does it automatically repopulate in this version of Football Manager?
No. So I can change it. Hold on, 1 second. I can.
Or do we have to wait? Do we have to wait till tomorrow to find out?
I've got the stored teams. Hold on. Can I say similar? They're somewhere anyway. I've saved them. I've got them. I just need to add them in. So I've got all the Premier League teams stored here, and then I just need to add. Add them in. So yeah, AC Milan are already sorted. They're already in, all ready to go. The whole squad to choose from. Only the difference is where I have to select them to put them in.
Yes. So tune in tomorrow for after this show. Tune in to away days, and you'll see that Pete will have made all these alterations to the team. So tune in for that alone.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one we put with Miggy, because if we had a situation where we were kind of at a starting position, say, and we moved all the players up the pitch, and I think this might be what you're getting at, Chris. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So if I moved all these players up the pitch as if Brentford were looking to kind of like, Brentford were on the ball and they were looking to try and create something from Newcastle. They would tend to start, and this is what they did today, is tend to start with these 3, really spread out, goalkeeper here, and Callum Wilson would be, Pinnock would be further back here. Callum Wilson would be trying to press here, but then you'd have Miggy pressing alongside him.
Cutting the channels, cutting out the passages of play, if you like. Yeah.
So if Wilson pressed here and then Pinnock played it across to Collins, he'd be here, but then Miggy would be here to try and block that off.
Run them down.
In here, that's where Bruno goes. Longstaff switches over. Gordon cuts in here. And it kind of works like that in terms of the press. But you know what Miggy is like. Miggy, with his pace, him and Isak or him and Wilson would be able to press that ball almost as a 2, because he's playing as a number 10. He hasn't got the responsibility to get in. But even so, even if Pinnock played it into here, into this space, Miggy would come across here. Gordon would be trying to block that space into Jensen, and so on and so forth. Is that kind of what you were on about?
Yeah. And I just think Miggy would have the ability to win possession very high up the pitch. And that is where the danger is. That's where Miggy Almiron could come into his own. The only problem with having Miggy on the right is that Miggy tends to stay in his little zone. Yes, he marshals that right hand side fantastically, and he sometimes you see Miggy on the edge of our 18-yard box trying to win the ball back. But imagine him in the middle of the pitch, high up, and they're trying to progress and take the ball forward, and then you've got Miggy Almiron just buzzing around like a lunatic, sticking his foot in and just his pressure and just making players having to panic because they know he's sprinting full pelt at them. I just wonder whether it would force mistakes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. It's interesting. I think Alex Stato mentioned that he didn't think that Miggy could play in number 10, but I actually think that's where he played before he signed for Newcastle, because he did exactly what you've just said. in terms of that pressing and that ability to get forward. I think he would really sort of cause some problems in there. But again, it goes back to the original question: is Eddie Howe going to deviate from what he knows?
Not mid-season.
Mentioned it. You mentioned it. Yeah, great point. Not mid-season, but I think the question that we had in the masterclass show is there a plan B? If there was a plan B, I think the three of us agree that this would be a good alternative to have, especially in the Champions League, as an alternative when you're playing away from home, when you're playing against a team that's difficult to beat or to break down. Having those two being able to press together would save the legs of Isak and would save the legs of Almiron, because they'd be doing it together, not on their own.
Yeah.
I don't want Isak being shattered after 60 minutes and not being able to take on a man or two or three because he's been pressing the back three or the back two of Tomori or Kalulu or the young lad, I can't pronounce his name, but he's been starting. Is it Thal? All day, because he's the only lone striker. He needs help up there, particularly away from home in the Champions League. So having someone alongside him would be really important to have. And it will keep a two in the midfield set. So it'll be hard to break through, and pressing high, counter-attack Barnes here if we win the ball, Gordon here, and then you're attacking as a four. But let's see. Always good to talk about it. Great opinions and questions from the chat as always.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he surprised us with a 4-2-3-1. But we'll see.
Who knows?
I guess Milan. Any last questions? I think it was you, Chris, that was on the questions.
Yano says, why not play all three, Barnes, Miggy and Gordon, behind Isak or Wilson? Yeah, this is what we spoke about, wasn't it?
That's deja vu.
Yeah, you could play Sandro and Bruno in the mid. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, apologies. Yeah, no. I don't think we've got any other questions, to be honest.
No, one or two are saying about where's Tonali fitting in all of this.
Yeah.
I've just got Longstaff for Tonali just to ease everyone's concerns.
Yeah,
Tonali was warming up tonight and probably could have quite easily played. I don't think his thigh injury was as much as a concern as people made out. I think they're saving him for AC. So I think he'd be slotted in here somewhere. So don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to theradiatorshed.com as we put Chris in jail there. And you know already the wonderful radiators that Russ has in offer. Hope you're well, by the way, Russ. Yes, go check that out, theradiatorshed.com. Also, Russ's other company, the Install Works, if you need to get those radiators connected up, and he will come in that loaded van with his crew and start that out for you. Also, a shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co., the Northeast largest supplier of Velcro and Botch bathroomware. The Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, run by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate in Gateshead. And you all know as well the beautiful bathrooms that are available via H2O Bathroom Design Co. That is it from the sponsors. Let me just remind you again to smash that like button. There was 10,000 likes or something like that, I said at the start. So yeah, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed. And we have some tomorrow. We have two shows and we're back again on Tuesday. But the first show for us tomorrow is with Kieran Maguire at 8 o'clock, followed by at 9:30 we are of Away Days, the Champions League edition with the Milan weekly podcast. So tune in for a night of loaders tomorrow if you are available. You can also catch it on playback, and we're also on Spotify, on iTunes, and Amazon Music as well. But thanks everyone for spending your evening with us, and thanks lads as well. Great to have a win, our second win of the season. We're back. We're nearly, sneaking into the top half of the table. I think we're in 11th position at the moment. So we're back. Hopefully another few victories on the way, and hopefully another few of these to come. I think there's only one thing left to say. Chris?
How'd you like
How'd you like that? Good night, everyone. Take care.
drink it.